Hey everybody, welcome in. We're going to do a quick recap and review of the Las Vegas weekend. Normally I haven't been doing a lot of these race reviews, but this weekend's a little bit different. As you can probably tell, we had a little bit of a situation take place during the Cup race and Xfinity Race, and we're going to talk about all that today. So let's start off with the Xfinity Race on Saturday. So Saturday afternoon, Stage 1 comes to a conclusion with Ty Gibbs, Austin Hill, Noah Gragson out front. Of the top 8, all 8 of them, I believe, 9 of the top 8 were playoff guys. So literally everyone in the top 8 scored points. Literally it was Gibbs, Hill, Gragson, Allgaier, Jones, Mayer, Allmendinger, and Berry was 9th. So not a lot of room to be gained. By the end of the second stage, it was Gragson, Gibbs, Jones, Hill, Allgaier, Berry, Mayer, and then Allmendinger was back to 10th. So again, all the guys scored points. So you'll notice that in the Xfinity Series, the playoff system, I don't want to say it's great, but it works in terms of the top 8 guys. We're running in the top 8 spots, or at least in the top 10 majority of this race. So there is a benefit there. The other car that ran in the top 10 there was Trevor Bayne. Guess what? That car's in the Owners' Championship. So once again, we're right back in that spot. So it makes a little bit more sense. Now, as we got into Stage 3, it was kind of a battle between Josh Berry, Justin Allgaier, Noah Gragson, and Ty Gibbs. Kind of a shuffling of cars, if you will, going into that. So we get into our cycle of green flag pit stops. Noah Gragson comes in and gets back out on track. Josh Berry comes in right after that. And basically it was about a 2-second gap between Gragson and Gibbs. And when they came back on track, it was a 6-second gap. It was a 6-second gap for Noah Gragson at home at Las Vegas, looking to win at his home track. And it looked like he was going to do that because he ran about 10 to 15 laps. Didn't look like anyone was going to be able to catch him. And then all of a sudden, we had a caution. And this wasn't just any caution. It was a phantom caution. The type of caution that makes you question every last bit of sanity that would be left in race control's hands. That's right. The type of caution that makes you say, how in the world did somebody see that and press a button and say, the whole field needs to grind to a halt because the track is now unsafe? Who in their bright mind would think such a thing? And the answer is NASCAR. Because what happened was, literally, I am not exaggerating when I say this, a car got loose on the bottom of the racetrack and saved it. And the car running behind them didn't even pass them. That's right. This wasn't your average, everyday, ordinary stupidity. This was advanced stupidity. We're not talking about a car sideways in front of the entire field on a restart. We are talking about 2 cars literally alone in the corner. Not another car within 10 to 15 car lengths minimum. Nothing anywhere else near it. And the car gets a little loose, gets it corrected and saved, and the car behind, which was a lap car, didn't even get past him. Didn't even have enough speed to pass him. That's how little this car got loose. And yet NASCAR deemed, we need to throw a caution. That's a caution right there. And they threw a stupid caution. Bunched the whole field up. The whole field comes down pit road. A.J. Allmendinger ends up with a loose wheel. His third place run turns into like I gotta go look. He finished outside the top 10, I believe. I think he finished outside the top 20. He did. A.J. Allmendinger went from a 4th or 5th place run to a 22nd place run due to that loose wheel. Now, don't get me wrong. The team still left the wheel loose, but NASCAR blatantly changed the outcome of a playoff race on an entertainment caution. I have a huge, huge problem with that. One, if you're a fan of Noah Gragson, which I am, I will admit I have some bias there. I did not care to see a utter BS yellow. But also if you're a fan of getting rid of these playoffs because they're a little bit too gimmicky, I'm not a fan of A.J. Allmendinger going from 15, 25, whatever it was, above the cut line, to suddenly this dumb caution comes out, and now he finds himself 16 points below the cut line. That's a big, big difference in points. And for NASCAR to literally be the sole reason that caution came out, because they wanted to bunch the field up for entertainment, give me a break. So I am still fuming over that. I cannot stand when NASCAR throws their stupid little fingers on the things and try to manipulate the outcomes of races. Just let the race play out. Guess what? Sometimes a guy stinks up the race and wins by 8 seconds. Get over it. There is no excuse for throwing a BS yellow just so that you might get a chaotic and crazy crash-filled finish. Sometimes a race is boring, and I say boring meaning I still can enjoy a race where they're spread out, but just because a fan that has more recently seen NASCAR and thinks that if they're more than a second apart, it's boring, guess what? If you can't handle that, don't watch. I'm sorry, don't watch. That's ridiculous. The idea that it is better to manipulate the outcome of a race than to let it play out naturally, absolutely unacceptable, especially when gambling is legal on these things. When you allow people to bet on cars and NASCAR will blatantly screw up the race with a terrible call, that's a big, big problem. So we're lucky it didn't happen in the Cup race. Not a lot of people bet on Xfinity, but I'm telling you right now, if the betting favorite had that happen to them within the last, I don't know how many laps to go there was. It wasn't many. It was 20, I think. But if that had happened to the betting favorite and it was a total crap yellow, you got problems. So anyway, 25 to go. Josh Berry ends up getting the lead on the restart. Noah Gragson starts second outside of Landon Castle. Landon Castle stays out on old tires. On the restart, Castle gets pushed clear of the lead, but going into turns 1 and 2, Landon Castle slides from the bottom lane clear up to the top lane, and Noah Gragson was on his outside, which obviously you can probably tell by now, he got really, really squished and had to slide all the way to the back. He had to lift out of the throttle. AJ goes to the lead, who was behind Landon Castle, while Noah falls clear back to 6th. Now, AJ's car wasn't as good, so he wasn't able to hold that lead. Josh Berry went to 2nd, Justin Allgaier to 3rd, Ty Gibbs to 4th, and Austin Hill to 5th or something. But then after things kind of sorted out, Noah Gragson got up on the fence and really started ripping. He was coming back to the front, ran out of time, couldn't quite get to Berry, but was able to get back to 2nd position. But I'm telling you, that car with 5-6 more laps probably was going to get there. I know he really wanted to win at home. But Josh Berry, in the 8 car, punches his ticket into the championship race, so he will be going to Phoenix and racing for a championship in the Xfinity Series. As I said, it's a real shame because you can see right here, I was thrilled when Josh Berry won this race last year in the 1 car. He flat out outdrove everybody, beat him on the last sequence of pit stops, and then drove off and won the race. Very similar to what it looked like this year was going to happen, but unfortunately this year NASCAR got in and messed things up a little bit. And don't get me wrong, Still got a JRM car to the championship for. I just think that the better car in that specific race was probably the number 9. All right, so that's past the Xfinity race. Let's move on to the Cup race. Now, in the Cup race, we had another bit of, what do we want to call it? Tomfoolery, goofing aroundery, whatever we want to call it there. Stage 1 comes to an end. Everything's actually fairly calm. Bubba Wallace wins Stage 1. Joey Logano 2nd. Daniel Suarez 3rd. Christopher Bell 4th. Ryan Blaney 5th. Cindric 6th. Larson 7th. Truex Jr. 8th. Reddick 9th. And Byron 10th. You might notice there's some people missing off that list. A few playoff guys not getting points. Briscoe running about 26th, 1 lap down. He actually gets the free pass on this stage caution. Now, you have Denny Hamlin running in the 11th or 12th position with Ross Chastain right behind him. So those two are running together just outside the top 10. And Chase Elliott was a non-factor the entire race. I mean, a 20th place car at best, almost the entire race. Just did not show up for this race. And once again, to start the round, Chase Elliott is in a hole. And if that's any indication of how Phoenix will go, as it's the start of the final round, or the most final round, yikes. But anyway, so that comes to an end. Now we get to the start of Stage 2. Now, at the start of Stage 2, things get a little more wacky. On the restart, On the restart, Kevin Harvick, Bubba Wallace, and Kyle Larson are racing down the backstretch. It's actually side by side. Larson lunges in there 3 wide on the bottom. Going through the corner, Larson starts sliding up. He's not able to hold that car on the bottom, carrying a little too much speed, and he slides up from the bottom to the middle. And then he slides to the 3rd lane. And then he slides up into the 4th lane, and then he actually slides up into Bubba Wallace and into the wall. And when I say into the wall, I mean Bubba ends up in the wall, not Kyle Larson. So it's tough to say. A lot of people say there's no contact. At the end of the day, these cars have enough air coming off them. If you're going to run that close to someone and crowd them higher and higher up the racetrack, you may not be physically touching them, but based on the air, you're touching them because you're sliding up into their lane, forcing them higher, and then also continuing to slide up. So Larson admitted it, but anyway, puts Bubba Wallace in the wall. Now, this is where things go really wild because he fences him in the wall. Bubba, obviously extremely ticked off, just full-blown yeets the car to the left, goes all the way to the apron, catches Kyle Larson in the right rear, and hooks him straight head-on into the outside wall and tags Christopher Bell. So an innocent running Christopher Bell gets nailed in the left rear. That whole suspension and A-arms, toe links, it's all beat up and just destroyed. Tons of damage to that car in terms of like the internals. The car actually looked good and was able to limp back, but I'm telling you, with these independent rear suspensions, when you get hit in a wheel like that, the whole thing's bent and everything has to be replaced. And with the 10-minute clock, not enough time to get it replaced, so he ends up out of the race. Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson end up with their cars completely totaled. Bubba Wallace actually gets out of his car, walks all the way across the front stretch down to Kyle Larson, and gets into a physical altercation. Now, Kyle Larson is holding his helmet and just kind of walks away, trying to avoid him. Doesn't really want to get physical or start or or continue a fight. He just kind of walks away. Meanwhile, Bubba Wallace, as he walks over, throws his helmet on the ground or drops it, kind of like getting ready to start swinging. My entire situation, or my entire opinion on this situation is, I totally understand why Bubba's mad. Look, there's two polar opposites right now, and both of them are idiots. There's a group that says Larson did nothing wrong, he just got taken out, and there's another group that says what Bubba did was perfectly fine, everyone does it, it's part of racing. Okay, both of those groups are total and utter morons. You can have both. What we have is Kyle Larson pushing it a little too hard, well, maybe a little harder than too hard, but pushing it too hard and fencing his competition and basically taking Bubba's car out. I mean, people want to say that car was going to continue, not with that heavy a contact. There was at least a bent control arm on each of the front and rear wheels. Like, that car was not going to be competitive the rest of the day. Okay, so we can blame Larson for that, and we can also still blame Bubba for right hooking him. You know, if you want to get your payback, that's fine. Chase him down into turn one, get underneath him, and just kind of ride him clear up to the wall. You know what? Do whatever you want. I don't care. Even if you want to turn him and spin him in turn one. I don't like the idea of any of that, honestly. But at the end of the day, you want to get your payback, find a way to do it, but don't take out other people, and don't turn them head on into the outside wall with an entire pack of cars coming behind them. That's silly. So Bubba Wallace, you know, idiot of the week on right hooking. Kyle Larson, idiot of the day. So Bubba Wallace gets idiot of the week for that right hook move, but Kyle Larson can have idiot of the day, a little less severe award for fencing him. So both of them are wrong. Nobody ended up winning. Both cars were out of the race. Both cars were destroyed. And at the end of the day, both of them end up going home with nothing but a trashed race car and a big points hole for them. So that's my take on it. I mean, I know there's a lot of people with a lot of different views. I know there's a lot of people that want to say that, you know, what Larson did is just racing. Look, if it's just racing, then that means that guy on the outside of you had a lane. And if you took his lane away and pushed him into the fence because you didn't give him room, that's not racing. You know, at the end of the day, if you're not clear, you don't take the lane. If you just knock someone into a fence, that's not racing anymore. Look, rubbing is racing. Putting someone in the fence is not really racing. Rubbing is, I'm trying to hold my car on the bottom and I rubbed your car a little bit on exit, and we keep going. Rubbing is what Denny did to William Byron at Texas. Little rub coming out of the corner. That fence job was a little bit harder. So that's my opinion on it. We can chat about it in the comments below. I'd love to hear everybody's opinion on it, as long as you're a common sense individual. You know, if you got stupid opinions, then I'm sorry, keep them to yourself. Like, there's too many stupid people that want to say that Larson did nothing wrong or Bubba did nothing wrong. Guess what? They both did something wrong. So it is what it is. Now the question a lot of people are asking, should Bubba get suspended for that move? The precedent doesn't say that that's what should happen. You know, a lot of people want to point to the Logano-Kenseth incident. That is nothing like this. We are not talking about a guy waiting on someone to come around the track and then plowing them off into the corner. This is two lead lap cars getting together, coming out of a corner, and then again on the straightaway. The precedent would be Ross Chastain and Kevin Harvick at Darlington in 2018. The precedent would also be probably, I'm trying to think when the last time, Carson Hocevar and Colby Howard at IRP. Neither of those even got a points fine, I don't believe. You could argue Noah Gragson at Road America. He did get a penalty, points, and a fine. So there are those as well on the table. But at the end of the day, we have not seen anyone get suspended for an act like this, so I would be very surprised if NASCAR chooses to go the suspension route. After all, we've seen multiple different types of payback throughout the last few years, and at no point has a suspension really even been on the table. So that's where I think it'll be. It'll probably be a points, maybe a points, but most likely for sure a fine, if anything. However, NASCAR seems this year more than ever to listen to Twitter, whatever Twitter says they do, and that's not a good thing. That's just kind of stupid, personally. So, but anyway, let's go through the end of that. The end of stage 2 wraps up. I believe Ryan Blaney wins that stage, and that'll be the highlight of his day because it only gets worse from here. Once you get into the final restart, on the final restart, running second and third, Byron and Blaney, Byron actually loses the nose. It gets kind of bottoms out and slides up and almost into Blaney. Sends Blaney clear to the high lane. He slides all the way back to 6th. Byron falls all the way to 8th, and Blaney starts driving like a man possessed. He is driving hard. He goes all the way back up to 2nd, but in driving hard up to 2nd, he drove the car a little too fast, and those Goodyear Eagles don't like to go fast. So, drove too fast. Right rear, I believe, goes down, and the car spins out, gets nosed into the backstretch wall, and his competitive day is over. He finishes the race 6 laps down. So he did get some stage points. There is a bonus to that he was able to get some of those points, but he ends up 28th on the day for finishing position, which is by no means a good day for him. And then late in the on that race start, right after this incident takes place, everyone comes to pit road, and the winner off pit road is Justin Haley, taking 2 tires. And I was streaming this race, and I remember specifically saying to everyone on that stream, take 2 tires. Why is nobody taking 2 tires? It's like the easiest gamble in the world. Take a shot. 25 laps to go. You may as well give it a shot. Like, let's go. Give him a shot. Like, try to see if you can make it. I mean, you're bound to have something happen. Like, you may as well give it a shot and go for it. And only one car even tried it, and it was Justin Haley. Justin Haley goes from running just outside the top 20, ends up finishing the day in 14th, but was actually running in the top 10 with as much as 10 laps to go. So definitely a worthy gamble for that 31 car, even if it didn't end up working out. Now, Ross Chastain ends up getting away with the lead, and coming down to the line, it is literally a battle between Chastain, Logano, and Kyle Busch starts closing in. Logano and Kyle Busch on fresh tires, Chastain on 15-lap older tires. With about 2 laps to go, Logano dives it to the bottom and is able to get up alongside Chastain, side drafts him all the way down the front stretch, and by then he just sails it off in there, completely clear of Chastain, and it's really no contest after that. So that being said, Logano goes along to win. He has locked himself into the championship 4. Chastain comes home in 2nd. Kyle Busch 3rd. Chase Briscoe, after running just awful all day long, somehow ends up in 4th after all this. Denny Hamlin in 5th. Tyler Reddick 6th. Truex Jr. 7th. Shout out Eric Jones and AJ Allmendinger with great runs in 8th and 9th. And Austin Dillon runs home 10th. Other notables, Noah Gragson filling in for Alex Bowman ends up with an 11th place finish. Playoff driver William Byron in 13th. Like I said, Justin Haley fell to 14th on that day. We also have Chase Elliott, just a complete no-show today, finishes 21st, didn't really run in the top 10 at any point throughout this race, just a real tough day. Ryan Blaney ends up 28th, and Christopher Bell 34th, with Larson and Bubba rounding out 35th and 36th. So moving into our championship race, or I should say championship standings as we move forward, Joey Logano is locked in. Ross Chastain has 18 points on the cut line. Chase Elliott has 17 points on the cut line, and Denny Hamlin is +6 to the cut line. Now, below the cut line, we have Byron -6, Chase Briscoe -9, Ryan Blaney -11, and Christopher Bell -23. So the cut line really didn't shift as much as I thought it would. I thought we were going to see a much bigger gap between these cars. Not really that bad. I mean, Christopher Bell, he's -23, but that is manageable. You can make that up on the track. He is not in must-win territory yet, but by Homestead, he's going to have to gain some points back. In the owner's title, only real difference is Kyle Larson's number 5 car is in on that one. As far as I know, the 22 is still locked in, and that cut line, I believe, still goes up to 4th, which I believe is 28 points behind. I don't think that one's updated, actually, so I should actually ignore that one. So, but overall, guys, it was a pretty solid race today. I think I'm still not a huge fan of the next-gen cars. I still think the Xfinity cars are the superior race car. They just simply put on the best racing every single week. There's not much else I can say about it. It's just, that's what they do. They put on such a great race every week. The tires wear out. They can really work around each other. They're not stuck down to the racetrack. You don't even see them walling each other. Because these cars are maneuverable, it allows them to not have to run into each other to make passes. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the race this weekend. Like I said, very, very disappointing Saturday in terms of NASCAR kind of really putting a damper on it. In my personal opinion, that race is a little bit skewed. But Sunday, pretty solid race. We move on to Homestead next weekend. We'll be streaming Saturday and Sunday. I'm not sure about Friday, if I got to see when the trucks run, and if I decide to even stream that. But we will do a couple more streams, so come on in, check those out if you want. Those will be at whenever the race is. You can just jump onto YouTube. I'll be live with it. So anyway, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed the races this weekend. And we'll see you all week with a bunch of new diecast reviews.